Welcome to the She Heals the World talk show with Dr.S, the place to hear stories of heart-driven women creatively living free. Our episodes highlight conversations and insights that support the values of self-care, creative and personal freedom, slower living, happiness, health, and wellness to help you live your absolute best life. To be a part of the movement and join the conversation, step inside our free Facebook group, She Heals the World, and say hello. It brings me great joy to bring you our next episode.
Okay, hey everybody, welcome to the She Heals the World talk show. Today I have Elissa Goodman with us. I am so excited to bring this guest to you. Elissa is an international best-selling author and holistic nutritionist who's on a mission to educate and encourage healthy, mindful living while helping others embrace the concept that we are a product of what we eat and how we treat ourselves. Elissa, I am so happy to have you with us today. Welcome.
Wow, I am so honored always to share my message and touch whoever needs to be touched with, just being able to inspire them to, I always say, take care of themselves and their health, because I'm seeing so much more and more in this world that we are not doing enough of that.
Yes, I can totally relate to that. And I know you have so much to share with your own personal story as well as some tips for our audience. So why don't you give us a little bit of background about how you got started in this work, going into being a nutritionist and even a best-selling author? How amazing. How did it all get started?
Thank you. It's funny, as we were chatting earlier, it's a long story and I'll keep it really short, but I did not go into this nutrition business with wanting to be a nutritionist. So I was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 32. It was an early stage of cancer. I was really lucky. I used my gut instincts and I chose to do a little bit of radiation. I said no to the chemo and some of the other things that they wanted to do because I was 32 and it was an early stage and I hadn't had kids yet. So I was definitely terrified of some of the drugs that they were using and that would, for later health reasons. So, my husband and I had just moved from New York to LA. So there was a juice place in LA. There was, Mrs. Gooch's, which is Whole Foods these days. There was so many more opportunities to eat healthy, to do yoga. I started meditating. I actually went into therapy because a lot of my cancer and a lot of my illnesses, I had every illness known to man growing up, by the way, were emotional. I was on the fast track. I had parents who were very type A, who were very successful, but my body couldn't keep up with them or myself and what I did to, try to keep pushing it. And basically I burned myself out and I didn't take care of myself. And, but emotionally I kept beating myself up because I wasn't up to par. I wasn't up to par in the family. I wasn't up to par in the world. I was just really, really hard on myself. And so a lot of, I think, my cancer culmination and my wake-up call was that I didn't really love myself and enough to have myself come first and really make sure that I was taken care of before everybody else. And all of us women can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
I basically healed, but then I went on to have two girls. But after my first pregnancy, I got hypothyroidism Hashimoto's, and it took 4 doctors to actually diagnose me. So
now, what is that? Because that word is kind of used a lot nowadays, and a lot of women have said that they have it, but I'm not sure we're really clear, what the symptoms of that are. And can you just explain that for us?
So many women have this. It's a lot. It has to do with some emotional stuff as well, because the thyroid is really where your vocal, where that chakra is that you speak, your truth or you're authentic or you're upset. Or a lot of us women kind of grew up going, we look good, but we don't really want to hear you. Right. be seen but not heard. So we never really got to express ourselves. And also, when your adrenals, are taxed, which is the first thing to go because it pumps out the cortisol and adrenaline for us when we're, studying hard or even running marathons or whatever it is. But I think we run marathons in our life daily. Then the next thing to go is the thyroid. So if your adrenals are taxed, your thyroid is going to be working overtime as well. So the thyroid gets really beaten up, as well as the thyroid gets infused with toxins because it's right where it is in the throat and, close to the mouth and ingesting food and absorbing radiation. And so it's toxic, it's emotional, it's basically overtaxed is kind of the three things. And that was definitely me, but I also was radiated to the thyroid for my Hodgkin's lymphoma. So that didn't help. That was tough. And then when you go on, when you have a stressful environment in your life or a trauma, and having a baby, which sounds really bizarre, is traumatic on your body. So I had my daughter, and then the Hashimoto's came up. Hashimoto's for me is like viruses that we had as a younger child or young adult, where we had mono, strep, tonsillitis, shingles, chickenpox. Those are viral related issues, and they lay dormant in the organs. We usually take antibiotics for them, but they don't do anything for a virus. So we don't really talk about lowering viral loads. The viruses go into the organs and they hang out with the other toxins. So when you are, you go through a trauma, or you're really stressed and not sleeping and not eating well, these viruses can raise their ugly head in all different forms. They can go into your reproductive system. They go into your thyroid. They go into your liver. So, they can cause, PCOS and infertility, and they can cause liver issues. And so, so that's in a nutshell what all of that is. And then after I was diagnosed with cancer, 11 years later, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. He had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he ended up battling it for a year and a half, did 2 bone marrow transplants, and after a year and a half, he passed away of fungal pneumonia.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
His immune system, I know, it was traumatizing. And then I had a 10 and a 7-year-old at home, and it was just horrible to watch him just disintegrate. And I don't know who does 2 bone marrow transplants within a year and a half. That is also crazy, because your immune system can't keep up with that.
Right.
So I had this 10 and 7-year-old at home. I was traumatized. I hadn't been really following a really healthy protocol. I was just surviving. So I decided, you know what, I don't know enough about keeping my girls healthy and myself. So I went back to school to get certified in Eastern and Western nutrition, like Ayurvedic, Chinese, herbal remedies, botanical herbs, supplements, and then all the Western modalities. So I spent 2 years doing that. I found out that it was really fun and I loved it. But I didn't do it to become a nutritionist. I really I knew my girls were going to have a really hard time with knowing that both their parents had cancer. And I just automatically thought they're going to think I'm going to get cancer. You go in, how we go into that mode.
So when you look at where you are now, thinking about your whole incredible story of healing through cancer, and then unfortunately losing your husband and having this desire to go and study and learn Western medicine and Eastern medicine, and how you can really model for your girls how to heal yourself. What hurdles did you overcome in the building process? Because I would imagine that, if you have this inner desire of, I'm going to do this, I would never set out to this, but I feel called to do it. But I'm sure that in the process of actually putting things in place and saying, okay, this has to now become a real working business in order for me to fulfill my mission, what do you think some of your hurdles have been that, other people probably experience as well?
I think the biggest hurdle was that I didn't love myself enough to take care of myself. And my thought patterns were really negative. I was very judgmental. I was a perfectionist. I'm not happy about any of these things, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, I beat up on myself if everything wasn't just right. And I learned those traits really early on. And there's a book that I read that was so amazing years ago by, her name's Dr. Elissa Rankin, and it's called Mind Over Medicine. And she talks about how your subconscious is fully downloaded at the age of 7. So in those first 7 years, you know, our subconscious is fully downloaded, and you and I operate 95 to 98% out of our subconscious as we're talking today. Like, we're barely conscious. And I wish I had known those things earlier in my life, but I think that there was there is a mental story that we tell ourselves. And when we get imprinted early on by trauma, divorce, death, or someone being mean to us, or someone embarrassing us, or someone telling us that we were fat or we're never going to be smart, we get traumatized, and it sticks with us. And another book that came out, you've probably heard of it, called Radical Remission. It's one of my favorite books. Kelly Turner did a PhD and actually interviewed stage 3 and 4 cancer cases for 10 years. And she came up with 9 modalities across the board of how these people healed. And out of the 9 modalities, 7 were emotional.
Wow.
So when I read that too, I was like, oh my God, you know, that was so me. I was really I was working overtime at trying to like prove myself to people, or, you know, prove myself to myself, or, I don't think I ever gave myself the breathing room or like took enough exhales to really like relax and just fall into my body and, you know, just really honor who I was. I mean, I think that was the biggest hurdle. And then I was a sugaraholic, you know, because I was constantly needing that fix to keep up, and caffeine and sugar to keep my energy up so that, you know, I could keep performing. And then I never had the knowledge of, am I doing what I love in my life? You know, am I passionate about my work? I was in the advertising business because my dad was in the advertising business. So I just followed in his footsteps. I mean, it was fun, but it wasn't what I loved. So those were definitely all things that I really, to this day, have realized, wow, I wouldn't take back any of those years. I mean, I had a lot of years of very hardship and visiting very dark places, and not feeling good and dragging and not thriving and just surviving. But I would not take back any of those years, because now I feel like I have hopefully so much compassion for people around me that are going through those things, because I'm 58 and I have never felt better in my entire life. I mean, I feel like I'm 10 years younger than 58. And, you know, I never thought I would get there in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so many people can relate to you, especially when you said like you're pushing and you want to get this thing off the ground and you're trying to get to the end, but there's all these other things. It's like self-sabotage, you know, it's like the junk food or the sugar or the stress or the self-defeating behaviors. It kind of takes over and derails you, and you're trying to get to your goal, but you can't get there effectively because all these things are in the way. And you know, I related specifically to the sugar piece that you said, because sugar is just so addictive, and you take it and you think it's going to give you more energy and help you, you know, focus a little bit more, but you're destroying your body in the process. And then when you try to stop, it's like impossible to stop with sugar, you know. So,
it really is. I mean, I know the number of sugar addicts out there. I could just, I know it is. It's just like, it's lethal. And that's saying it's more addicting than heroin. I mean, that's scary, isn't it?
It totally is.
That is, I know, the inflammation that we have these days, and the toxins that are out there in the world that we ingest. Yeah, they don't do us any favors.
No, they don't.
Right? The sugar, the gluten, the dairy. And it's not that, or even the over-caffeinated or just, not buying organic, which a lot of people don't have access to. And just, it's really crazy. I mean, I personally feel like, our body can ingest these things and detox them. We just have to try to find some balance with the stress and the sleep and the, hydration and, trying to cut back some of the sugar and the gluten and the dairy and the processed foods is, it sounds so easy to say and it's so easy for me, but for a lot of people, it's a hurdle.
True. It is. It absolutely is. It is. And I think especially, if you're ill and have something like cancer, you have to be even more careful about what you eat and what you put into your body. I'm wondering what your opinion is when you hear about people getting cancer, and since you've been through it yourself and have supported your husband and watched him also deal with it, unfortunately leading to his passing, do you feel like cancer is preventable, or do you feel like this is one of those things where you get it and you just have to kind of pray your way through it, or if you do get it, that might not be preventable, but it is curable? What is your philosophy as it relates to that?
I definitely think cancer is preventable. I definitely think it's also, you can heal from it. I don't think it's a death sentence at all. I just think that we need to, start to tune in, like I didn't do in those early days, but I did afterwards, to how we're feeling and what's going on in our body, because our gut, we talk about, you hear gut these days like crazy. The gut, second brain, but it tells us what's going on. I mean, our gut instincts are pretty powerful, and we were born with these instincts for a reason. But then as time goes on, we lose track of them, right? So, I absolutely, if you build up, keep your immune system strong and just deal with your stress and your emotional components for yourself. I mean, even just those things could prevent cancer. Those, those three things. I mean, you don't have to eat perfectly, because when you're stressed, your digestive system shuts down, and then your liver has to work overtime to produce bile to push into the digestive system to digest your food. And so I could give you really healthy soups or salads, but if you're stressed, you're not going to absorb the nutrients. So it's, might as well just maybe eat a burger.
But it blocks it.
So right. And to build immunity is de-stressing, getting enough sleep, moving your body. It doesn't have to be hardcore exercise, and really starting to really honor yourself. I mean, and it before you even potentially get to the food. And that sounds so weird for someone who's such a foodie and who has made her career about food. So, I mean, one of the things I just absolutely can't live without these days, and I know there's there's two schools of thought on this, is I'm a huge juicer. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, I started juicing like crazy, and I don't know why I did this, but I started juicing carrot juice, and I mean, even carrots are high in sugar, but to this day, I'm still juicing, and definitely took a break during the years of kids, but after my husband passed away, I started juicing again, and I think juices without fruit, no apple, pear, any of that stuff, because that's too much sugar going into your bloodstream. But I cut my greens, with like lemon and ginger. But juices are a liquid vitamin, mineral, and they're a blood tonic. So they are so powerful. They bypass the digestive system, and they're able to go into the bloodstream and into the cells, and the cells get the nutrients that they need. Wow. So that's one of my like life-saving things. And at the moment, this last month that I was telling you earlier, I hit another wall for myself where I burned out because I was working too hard, and I started getting up at 2 and 3 and having anxiety attacks, thinking about work and all that kind of stuff, all the stuff that I preach, but I don't practice.
Join the club.
so I had to take some Western meds to get my butt back to sleep. And so I started juicing celery, and lemon, because I hate the taste of straight celery, but straight celery is a major liver detoxifier. So, so I see, so even though I had to take the meds and still kind of going on and off of those, when I drink my celery juice in the morning, I feel like $1 million. Hopefully I'm detoxing some of this medication or some of the toxins, out of my body. So,
So that's one thing that it sounds like everybody can do as it relates to preventing cancer is incorporating juicing. But you said only certain vegetables, right? Like not carrots might add a little bit too much sugar. And
I've become like a little bit of a purist, even though carrots are, I know, great for cancer. But I eat my carrots and I roast my carrots, and I also do the same with beets. But if you were to do cucumber celery is incredible. It rebuilds the hydrochloric acid in your gut. It detoxes your liver, and it takes mineral salts, the neurotransmitters in your brain. So it's pretty amazing. It's a hot thing right now. Drinking straight celery juice on an empty stomach. The bummer is you have to juice it and drink it right away. So a lot of people find that to be a pain in the ass to have a juicer to juice, a whole stalk of celery. But if you were just to do like celery, cucumber, lemon, ginger, turmeric, or just lemon, ginger, something as simple as that is because cucumber cleanses the kidneys and lemon helps, clean out the intestines. And of course, the ginger is very anti-inflammatory, and that's powerful, and that's not expensive. Celery and cucumber and lemon and ginger are not expensive. And then what I do a lot of times is I rotate in greens, like one day spinach or romaine when it's good, or kale, or just things like that. So, and if you do it 5 days out of the 7, that's amazing. You don't have to do it 100% of the time.
Just some of the time to give your body that cleanse. I can imagine I'm going to have my audience like all juicing all the time just to make sure that they stay in their best shape. I mean, what other things can women do to kind of ward this off? I mean, cancer is just taking over, I feel like it's everywhere here in the UK. I think people are a bit paranoid about it, and I don't want to build paranoia in anyone, but I definitely want to support people in making healthy decisions so that they can start to ward off some of these diseases. So do you have any other tips you can leave us with that everyday women can incorporate to prevent cancer from showing up in their life?
Yes. Awesome. So some other, we talked a little bit about, the sleep is crucial and the stress, de-stressing. For me, I have to meditate throughout the day because I'm a type A person still. 5 minutes of listening to an app. Unplug has an incredible app online that I absolutely adore and love. And there's all different kinds of meditation on there. There's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes in itself to get you breathing and back in your body is huge. So in traffic, or, if you just gotten off a stressful phone call, or you're getting up in the morning and you're anxious already for the day, 5 minutes of that is just incredible.
Unplugged.
That's
awesome.
Unplug is a great. I also use an app called calm.com, CALM.
Oh, yes, I've used Calm.
You've probably heard that.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's really good. There's a bunch of really great apps. So that's a must these days for us women, because we hold all the energy for the household, and even potentially the workplace. I mean, that's just what we do, right? We, that and juicing and actually really watching your sugar, your gluten, and your dairy. Dairy for me is a no-no. And all of these things and the processed food and the chemicals, but watching all of that stuff 80% of the time. Not, again, you know, because definitely it's hard to do for us, and especially where we live. But as we talked about earlier, sugar is just a killer. So if things have a lot of sugar in it, that is actually absolutely going to wreak havoc on our immune system. So I try to watch, you know, that I eat my fruit. I don't juice it. I don't put it in smoothies. I do put some like low glycemic fruit in smoothies, like berries, but I would never put a banana or anything high in the glycemic scale. So, you know, but fruit is the fountain of youth. So I definitely eat my fruit. And another thing is just really making sure that we are hydrated. We are such a dehydrated society. And so when we get dehydrated, our organs shrivel up and they don't work properly. Plus our cells don't function properly as well because, so I love, and not everybody loves stevia. It's a sugar that doesn't disrupt the balance of bacteria in your gut. But there's this powder on the market called Ultima Replenisher, ULTIMA, hydrating, Replenisher hydrating powder. It is sweetened with stevia, and it has gotten really sweet over the years. But what I do is I just stick like enough of the powder in my water to my taste level and not make it too sweet. But this powder has vitamins and minerals in it, and the minerals in the powder are what help the water go into the cells. And that not only fully hydrates you, it gives you mental clarity, and it also curbs your appetite.
Which everybody would love to do in the summertime.
I know. Right. And you can also put a pinch of sea salt. I mean, that might sound a little strange. Sea salt has the minerals. You know, you can put a pinch of sea salt in your water, and that will give you instant energy and hydration. But we drink all this water and we just pee it out. We don't absorb it. And we need to flush out the toxins in the body. And that's crucial. So the last thing is to just focus on your gut. The gut is where the immune system is. 90% of the serotonin is produced in your gut. So if you can take a strong probiotic, like Renew Life makes a fabulous 100 billion. I even sometimes recommend 150 billion. There's another probiotic that I love. It's called Dr. Ohhira's, OHHIRA''S. It's a fermented fruits and vegetable, plant-based probiotic. I like the professional strength of that one. I mean, taking a probiotic and getting that, building up that beneficial bacteria in your gut, or eating fermented foods, or if you have access to coconut water that's been fermented, like coconut water kefir, or coconut yogurt kefir, those things are incredible. You only need a little bit. You don't need to drink the whole bottle. You just need 2 to 4 ounces maybe, just to make sure that you have, the beneficial bacteria in your gut. And that does a lot for, I would say. I could go on, but I won't go on. That's enough for
really,
somebody to absorb,
helpful.
right?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, and I know that there are going to be people who want to take this further, whether they may be predisposed to cancer or they may have had a scare, or they're just health freaks like I am and want to make sure, you're trying to do the best that you can to take care of your body. So how can people get more detailed information and really be able to work with you or study with you or get support if they're trying to heal naturally?
I do have a website. It's www.ElissaGoodman.com. And every week I write about a health tip and I give a recipe, because I love food. They can do it that way. I have a 21-day online cleanse that has body, mind, and soul components with 3 weeks of recipes and shopping lists and supplements that they can download and just learn. Even if they don't do the 21-day program the way it's put together, they'll learn so much about what they need to do for their health. And I have a book, Cancer Hacks, that is on Amazon. And also I'm starting to write my second book called Autoimmune Hacks, because I've just healed from Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. But I also have a YouTube show where on YouTube, it's under the Elissa Goodman Show, where I interview wellness game changers who I love, who are really making an impact in the wellness arena, because thank God for them, because we need it so much these days. Life isn't getting any easier, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. And your work is so deeply needed. And I am just so glad that you blessed our audience with your story and with these tips and with places to reach you. If you could give yourself any piece of advice 10 years ago, what would it be?
It's always such a hard question. It would be to be more compassionate with myself, to learn how to have compassion for myself, and to really appreciate, who I am as a person with all the flaws.
Acceptance.
So, it's been the biggest lesson of my life. And I have to continue to learn it, I guess. I mean, some people feel like, wow, they learned the lesson and then it's like everything's going to be smooth sailing. But I'm here to tell you that the universe is always putting things in front of you that you need to learn. And they're gifts. They're not, they're not to be shied away from, which is what I did most of my life, was to run the opposite direction as fast as I could. So, I wish I had known that when I was younger.
Thank you so much, Elissa, for joining us on this show. And it has been such a blessing.
Thank you for honoring me to be on the show. So, like I said earlier, you totally made my day.
Awesome. All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay. I hope so. Bye.
This episode was brought to you by Fearless and Free. Fearless and Free is my online training program that teaches women entrepreneurs and aspiring course creators how to create, launch, and profit from your first online course. Online courses have produced tremendous freedom in my business, and I would love to share my technique and strategy with you. If you are interested in launching a profitable online program, visit shehealstheworld.com/freebie to grab your free tool sheet that brings you behind the scenes on all the tools that I use to run my online practice. Thanks for listening in. Lots of love. See you in the Facebook group.